Welcome to the exciting episode where we start getting carbon out of the mold, eventually. Welcome to this exciting episode where we try to recover the disaster from discovering I've made the front wings too wide again. So, first thing to do, let's get the lines marked on the wing at the right width so I don't cock it up one more time. So, laser lines, using my fingers to kind of mark where that line is, draw it on with pen. Let's get this right this time. That is flush with the wheel, so that's the furthest out that this wing has to be. What I'm going to do is down here, I'm going to cut probably 2 inches that way out of there and then reposition this so it's flush with where it needs to be. I'm also going to take that rise out of there. So first thing, I'm going to get this side of the air dam flat and flush like I want it. I'll then make the wing fit this, and then hopefully we're back to ready for primer anytime soon. Just had a quick thought. Before I start bringing this in too far, I want to put that headlight piece in place to make sure I don't narrow that wing so much I can't get the headlight in. So with the headlight tray fitted, you can see we're still good on that line. Adding the front wing and the headlights shows there's going to have to be some trimming involved in getting those headlights mounted in that hole. So there's the headlights fitted. That should go with the wing, so let's try it with the wing. There's the wing fitted, and you can just about see the headlights there. There's the air dam cut. That all lines up. It actually gives me an inch or so to go to that wheel. Hopefully I can reuse some of this, but I want to get rid of this bit out here, so that's going to be cut flush. After trimming that curve off, you can see it fitted here, works okay. Note the blood stains. Yeah, be careful with angle grinders. Anyway, let's get some slop on there and make this all work wonderfully. As I'm going to be hacking this wing about, I've decided I'm going to actually use this as an opportunity to reshape it. So that headlight's going to lean back more and curve around here more. That corner will need changing, that whole thing needs sloping back, and obviously the narrowing. So first of all I'm going to cut across there and see how we go from there. No time for softly, so slap it with an angle grinder. So that's the headlight cut back at an angle, not massively obvious, but as you can see, a fair chunk cut off. So theoretically, from the side here, much more slopey back. So from this side, I hope to be able to reuse a lot of that. So if I cut across there, then that piece can be moved in, and I'm just dealing with that wedge there. Blimey, it worked. I still need to curve that front corner, but in terms of sticking out, sticking in, it looks all right. From front and from back. That's pretty impressive. So now we've done the drastic cuts. That's flush with the side of the car. That is straight. That's slightly smaller headlight. So I think I'm going to glue that together, and glue that together. Obviously, a bit filling there, a bit shapy there. Sprayed that with expanding foam overnight, so we now have that gap filled and that area there filled. So you can see where I put the silver plate there. I can now carve around that corner to give me a curve, which I want. And when I start shaping that, I've got something to put the gloop against. So the filler is only there to give me something to mount the gloop against. So there's the headlight reshaped. It now curves around the corner. Fits the front wing. And the headlight fits inside it. Quite pleased with that. I'm rushing this a bit because I want to get it glooped up before I have my next leg operation, and I'll be on sticks for a while. Rushing these things is never a good idea, but then this whole fucking project's not a good idea, so what does it matter? Anyway, sand that down, shape it, gloop it. Right, trying to shape this wheel arch quickly. There's this, which is the wing I want. There's then this ridge, I don't know if you can see it white on white. But this bit here needs cutting down, level with that. Ideally I do some kind of sanding tool, but I'm in a rush, so I'm going to use an angle grinder. Much quicker. Japanese saw. And there we have the front wing shaved. Much happy with that curve around there compared to the old square corner. Need to sort out that kind of kink there, but that's okay. Need to sort the wheel arch and the return down there, but that's okay. It's basically gloop now. Well, had my mum down this weekend, so didn't get much done. Generated 2 bags of rubbish and some shaping on here. Key thing is, I got that centralised, so those come down by the lights. As you can see from the black line on that one and that one, they're not quite equal, but it's the best that I can work out. Also, I reshaped this front wing, so that's on the air dam, so that's now fitting nicely. That area there will get shaped in slightly to mimic that. The bumper has actually been lowered on the mounting so that with that top gap showing, the panel gap is about equal. I used a bendy bit of plastic trim to give me a nice curve for the wheel arch. Here you can see me trying to recreate it for the video. I'd obviously marked it beforehand. I definitely never brought parts into the kitchen to dry, and you can't prove it. It is late. I'm tired. But I'm actually happy that that is right. A little bit rough, I can finish those off, but the headlight looks right, the angles look right, the curve looks right. It's the right bloody width. I'm going to cut the other side to fit and then finish it. So now all I've got to do is everything I've done for the last week on that to the side you can't see. We are making progress. I've adjusted the ramp so it's absolutely level, and all bits of the car, air dam, or plank, air dam, grills, vents, everything's level. What I have noticed though is that this headlight is raised up. There's an air gap there, so I need to get that lower somehow. I'm guessing I need to remove some of that to drop it to the air dam. But I'll do that when I cut the wing up, which is probably going to be tomorrow now. And it's tomorrow morning before breakfast. So use the angle grinder to remove the metal screw panel from the rest of the wing, and I use my little tapping panel hammer to optimally align it. I just started to panic that the driver's side wasn't lining up properly when I realised the problem was actually around the passenger side where this was now rubbing where it had been brought in. So trim that back and we should be okay. Panic over. Saturday morning angle grinder session. That's the headlight shaped. That's lined up to make sure it lines up. And that is level across there. A few offcuts, bit of spray foam, some gaffer tape with air. Got the spirit across. Make sure they're level. They're level. And in rapid progress, trying to make sure that everything's finished in time for my knee up. The bumper. Yeah, that doesn't exactly fit. Nice green line. Perfect along the front of that. Completely shot to pot on that side. What I'm going to do is a couple of screws there, a couple of screws there, fix the bumper to the air dam, then chop and fit that somehow. Same that side. Not altogether sure what I'm going to do, but I'm sure you'll see as I find out. Well, I didn't even get my camera out for this side. Basically, those 2 screws there holding it. Some of that silver tape taped against the front wing because I'm going to spray some gloop down there. One screw in there, pulled it tight. So that line is good. That's not. spray some gloop in there, got a solution. Welcome to a rainy Monday morning summary. We have the car bumper fitted, both corners now fitted to size. Well, hey, all that front activity worked. We've got the car basically to shape. So as you look at the walk around, I know it's not finished, the sanding and filling, etc. But I'm not going to show you that. Next video should be primer. So look, wings fit, bumper fits, air dam fits, everything's good. Once I've sanded it and filled it, I'll be spraying it primer. But that's going to be after my knee up, which means I'm going to be a couple of weeks on sticks. Please make sure you subscribe so you get an update when the next video is released. And provided I don't die on the operating table, I should see you then. Have fun. Welcome to this exciting episode where you see the big reveal just before we go to primer. So wait for it, wait for it. Yay, here it comes. Hey, it actually looks quite good. Well, it looks like a car anyway. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Yeah, I can live with that. So while I reverse out, you can have another look at it. Anyone who's complaining about me driving on public roads in a car in this state, this is all AI generated and virtual reality and Photoshop and all that shit, okay? So this never went on public roads. Having said that, if it did go on public roads, it'd look bloody cool. Listen to the engine while I reverse up again. That tick, 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 that's bore score. That's why I'm going to get the engine upgrade. Just repair the bore score, not just for a bigger engine with more torque, etc. Yeah, not much footage, but wanted to put something out before Christmas. Oh, for those who asked, the leg operation was a success. I'm off the sticks now and just doing the physio. So thanks for all the good wishes and have a really great Christmas, holidays, or whatever you're celebrating. Cheers, guys. Like and subscribe and all that toss. Cheers. Welcome to this exciting episode where I battle cold weather to make my first ever mould and an expensive mistake with the resin. So on this sunny January morning, there's a thick frost on the cars, but I'm going to try and make some progress. So the bit of the bumper that goes in that gap there is the first piece I'm going to make because it's small, and if I cock it up it doesn't matter so much. Right, back in the garage in January, it's freezing, which is why you can hear the heater. This is the bit of the car I'm going to make. It sits like that, bonnet comes down here, sits on top of the bumper. I'm going to make a mould for the top half of this. So far this has been sanded down to, I don't know, about 240. I want to take it down to a point where it's kind of polished enough to take a mould off. I'm hoping if I can get this epoxy to polish up, I won't need a layer of primer. Sometime later, and it's all down to 1,000 bits. Now, sanded down with 1500 to 2000. It is very smooth. To make the flanges, I'm going to use this board. After the storms, it was blowing around a car park, things being queues. So, just corrugated plastic board. So, cut the flange to fit, leave it nice and wide, hot glue in place. Then, as if by magic, the other half's done. Now we just need to put the wax fillet around there and move on. That was a whole lot fiddlier and more time consuming than expected. I had to come inside because, despite the sunshine out there, it's the coldest day of the year so far, so the wax was just falling off and wouldn't stick and anything. You basically make a little wiggly worm. So you then squeeze that in like that. I'm now putting mould release onto it. I'm using CR1 Ease Leaf. As you can probably tell, I'm back indoors because it's still freezing out there. So I just wiped it over with the first coat, leaving it 15 minutes, and I'll do half a dozen more. I've put the release agent on that. Really time consuming and boring because you put 6 layers on. But when I put the gel coat on, I'm worried it still won't release from this surface. Should do, but I'm going to do a test strip first. Gel coat's quite thick and gloopy, so spread it around the spreader. Could use a brush or a sprayer, but hey, it's only a small patch. Whack it in the sun to dry, leave it off overnight, and lo and behold, we can peel it off. Big reveal, yes, it Peels off with a tape. Result. Happy with that.
Good morning. It's about 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I've had the heater blowing hot air in, that thing glowing hot, and we're almost up to, well, actually 12 degrees. It's almost the 18 to 25 working temperature. But anyway, today, going to coat that with gel coat. Okay, that section was filmed with the camera turned off. Mixed up 100 grams of gel coat, 4% McP, painted it on here. Nice and thick, really gloopy, putting it on. You're still getting bits where it doesn't quite like sticking into the corners, so it's going to need a second coat. Okay, exciting times. We have that, 2 coats of gel coat on it, dried, tacky but these fingerprints. 100 grams CSM, 2 sheets of this, coupling coat. Okay, that's 400 grams of that, so I need 1.5%, so 4 times 1.5 is 6, so I need 6 grams of McP.
Mix the resin from pretty pink to mucky brown. Apply the resin to the mould before the first coat of CSM. Put this first coat down, stipple it in. As the resin dissolves the glues in the CSM, it conforms much better, so you can push it into those corners. Make sure there's no air voids. Add more slop, add more glass, 2 coats, and then just pour off the rest of the resin and let it set.
So here it is after I've sanded it and given it a quick wipe over to get rid of the dust. I've tried to scratch up this as much as I can so there's some mechanical grip, especially around the corners and edges. It doesn't look too bad. The flanges appear to have dipped a bit here, but hopefully that's just on the flange, so it shouldn't matter.
And here comes the cock up. I'm ready to do the Unimold resin with the thick glass fibre, so I mix up 2 litres of coupling coat. Wrong resin, you idiot.
Oh, that was a fuck up. Anyway, got myself cooling resin. It's actually been stood upside down for half an hour in front of the heater so that the stuff mixes up, and then rolled it backwards and forwards, trying to shake it as best I can. Hopefully that's enough.
Mix it all up and then start applying it. This 450 gram chop stand really soaks up the stuff. So there's put loads of resin on, roll it in instead of just brushing it in. It's thick. Make sure it goes into all the corners. The resin is good at dissolving the chop stand match glue, so it conforms around the corners and you can prod it in. Normally you wouldn't apply 4 layers in one go, but this is Unibond Super System, which needs the exothermic reaction caused by the resin in the 4 layers to cook. You still need to stick it in or leave it for 24 hours. I stick it in the sauna to make sure it bonds, but we'll see how it looks when it comes out.
So, Sunday morning, the mould is solid. So this is the grand reveal. Yay! Let's cut to some point this advert. No, funny enough, this channel's still not monetized. Anyway, this should just simply pop free from the mould.
As it's bound to pop free so simply, I might as well cut the mould to shape a bit, at least trim the crap off the edges, and then pop it out. Actually, I'd better take the wax out and then pop it out.
Yeah, popping out the mould is not quite as simple as it sounds. I'm using these wedges to try and lever up the sides. What's happening is the foam in there is just folding and a big bit chipped out. So removing things from mould might not be as non-destructive as I hoped. The good news is the actual mould itself doesn't look too bad. Sometime later, and I've given up on non-destructive because, well, I've got 2 basic problems. One, the foam is just too soft, so when I try to prise it out, the foam breaks up. And 2, it's just a complete cunt. Right, that's the buck out the mould. So a couple of things I've learnt. 1, don't use Ripley plastic to make the flanges. 2, the process of getting that out may be less non-destructive than you hoped. And 3, the whole thing's a cunt. Anyway, going to clean that up, polish that up, raise to a high sheen, and then we can just pop the other pieces out of it. I thought I'd pause halfway through the sanding process or clean up process because it's tedious. Anyway, first of all, rubbed it down with some fine, well, it's going to be fine grit wire wool, but I've only got medium. So that was really good at getting rid of the wax. You can see all the stuff in there. Got it down, scrubbed it up okay. Then this side I've gone over mostly with 800 grit, so a little bit more there. Corners, so much easier to sand these when they're outside corners, so really clean those up before you make a mould. Definitely do not use ripply bloody stuff you find in a car park.
And here's the mould cleaned down to 800 grit. Looks okay for a distance, but when you look closer, scratches where I used a chisel to try to remove stuff. Don't do that. There's also awkward bits in the corner which are like sods to get at, and there's a funny kind of seam and knobble around the edges which I probably need to sand down. But it's been ages to put a video out. We had a suicide in the family which kind of slowed things down. Guys, mental health matters. Please talk to someone. Don't just kill yourself. It really fucks things up. Anyway, back to the stuff. Yeah, going to clean this up further, but I'm going to cancel this episode now. Next episode, you'll see the clean, shiny one, and we should make a carbon fiber piece. Like, subscribe, and all that shit, and speak to you soon. Welcome to this exciting episode where we go from mold to magnificence and the first carbon fiber piece.
Welcome to this sunny Sunday morning. We have the mould. It's been coated with half a dozen coats of that. We've now got the materials ready to do the carbon fibre. So that is freeze material. That'll soak up the spare resin. That's carbon fibre, 212, cheap stuff. That is peel ply. So we're going to have resin, carbon fibre, breather, peel ply. That's plastic to make a vacuum bag, so that'll all go in there and we'll suck it out. I'm not doing resin infusion because it's a pain in the arse with all those ribs and it'll never work. So that whole thing will go inside a bag of that with that, and that. I'm thinking this is some hex pattern reinforcement. So I'm thinking I might lay some of that up there, but 2 plies of this, 1 of that, and then another ply of that, or 2 of those. I don't know. I'm going to do some more Googling and check it out, but I reckon 4 plies should be enough. Bear in mind, this is going to have the bonnet slamming on it, so I want to be reasonably tough. This is going to be the reinforcement layer. Because it's easier to cut than carbon fibre, I've cut the template out of that. The black line shows the bottom of that, and then you've got the flanges up to go up the sides a little bit. The carbon fibre needs to be a little bit taller because these only come to the just below the edge there. That means the carbon fibre underneath, the carbon fibre above will form a sandwich with this stuck in the middle. Little Citroen chevrons, well, because I can. So the template fits over there. I can get 4 across there, which is what I need. I've pulled 1 thread out of there, so you've got a nice line. I'm going to cut along that line. Desperately trying to keep the weave all straight in a line because at least one of these is going to be the cosmetic layer you see. And there we have 4 sheets of carbon fibre. So here we have everything prepared for the first layup. I am a little bit apprehensive, but hey, we've got the resin, the hardener, got the cup to mix it in, a spare one to pour it into. We've got the mould that's been chemically released God knows how many times. We've got this stack of carbon fibre with the reinforcement in the middle. I've got the plastic bag, which one side is sealed, the other side still has the tape on because I'm going to put the piece in to seal it. Got the vacuum pump. I've weighed that stack. It's 180 grams, so it's about the same weight for resin, but there's the reinforcement in there. So I'm going to put 200 of resin.
Let's start with the resin layup here. So slap the mold with some resin. Make sure you get a nice thick coating. You've got the carbon fibre on top of that. Squish the resin into the carbon fibre. Roll it around a bit. Tuck it into the corners. It does move more easily. It can form more easily when it's wet. But you want to keep the weave fairly static because that's a level that shows. Add another layer. Add more gloop. once you've done that, you add the reinforcement layer. Um, it's not exactly difficult, it's just like laying up anything else. And this is at 12 times the speed, and I'm bored of watching it. Anyway, yeah, carbon fibre, more glue, more carbon fibre, more glue, reinforcement, more glue. So I've run out of glue, mix some more glue, and then finish it off. With all the carbon fibre rolling into place and pushed down hard, corners tucked in, we add peel ply, breathe the layer, and stick it in a plastic bag, ready to suck out the air and leave it to dry. When the air is being sucked out, don't forget to push the bag into the corners to make sure it's really properly compressed.
This has obviously been drying in here overnight, and what do you know? My vacuum bag's leaked.
Here we go for the big reveal. Does the peel ply just pull out? Yes, it does. Will the carbon fibre just pop from the mould? Not exactly. It's not too bad, actually. It took me about 15 minutes. Lots of wedges under there, and then there's a really nice crack, crack, crack noise as it releases from the mould. Seems like it's not going to move at all to begin with, but then that moment comes. Have faith, it will pop from the mould. Here it's just releasing, so listen to this sound, it's beautiful when you hear it. Here I'm trying to show you a couple of air bubbles in the edges, but my camera's got some new updated super autofocus that don't let me film what I want to see. Anyway, you'll see more of this later. Quick trim of the edges and cleaning up shows two types of problems. One, bits where the resin didn't actually stick, and two, these kind of crystally flaws within the resin itself. Both need resolving. Actually, there's a third type as well. These white marks on the flat surface, they're actually gaps in the resin, the same as the first ones I showed you, but they look a bit different because they've got this sanding dust in them. Solving the defects was easy. Those crystalline looking ones were bubbles inside the resin. Used a Dremel to just sort of grind out the area of resin around it, so they ended up looking like those little pock holes within the first one. The white bits on the top will actually need some panel wipe to get the dust out, and they also look like gaps in the resin. So mix up some more resin and fill the gaps. Just using a little paintbrush to do this because it's nice and delicate and you don't put mess everywhere. You're going to have to sand this all back down again after it's been baked. The usual fun with blowtorch to get rid of any bubbles before you bake it. Whack it in the sauna. This time I had the sauna hotter than I intended. I normally just turn it off for 5 minutes, let it get up to about 25 degrees, but I forgot and left it on too long. Anyway, I turned the sauna off, so it's going to drop from that temperature, and this is what you end up with after you've finished. If you're wondering what it would look like if you sanded the front too much and exposed the two edges of carbon fibre and the reinforcement in between, well, this is what it looks like. And I'm going to have to add some more resin in there to bond those two together again.
Well, I haven't fixed the whole thing because I want to wait to get some more resin mixed up, but I've just had a quick blast of varnish over the top of it, so it looks pretty good to me, and it's going to go on that gap there. Anyway, next episode we shall be doing the front wing. I've got that already taken off and waiting, and hopefully we'll make a mould out of that and won't have all the problems we had here. So like, subscribe and all that fun and shit. Cheers guys, bye.